Or, on most flights, every passenger has a story. But on Flight 207, one woman carried a legend. A legend so classified that even the pilot didn't know she was on board. This is the story of the mystery passenger in 13F, a woman the Air Force once called Falcon 1, a hero hidden in plain sight. The seatbelt light blinked on, casting a warm glow across the cabin. Passengers settled in reading, texting, dozing off. CT-13F. A woman in her late 30s sat quietly, wearing jeans, a grey hoodie, with aviator shades resting on her head. Nothing about her stood out. And that's exactly how she preferred it. But her instincts, sharpened by years of combat missions, kept whispering to her, something's wrong. It was a faint, almost imperceptible feeling, a shift in the air pressure, a hum in the engines that was just slightly off-key. She tried to dismiss it as a side effect of flying commercial for the first time in years, but the feeling wouldn't go away. It clung to her, a persistent, silent warning that this flight would be anything but ordinary. 15 minutes later, the engines rumbled in a way that commercial jets never do. A shadow flashed past the window, then another. Gasps filled the cabin. Two F-22 Raptors appeared sleek, dark silhouettes, slicing through the clouds with terrifying grace. A little girl pressed her face to the glass. Mum, fighter jets. Passengers whispered, their voices a mixture of confusion, fear, and even a little excitement. Questions flew around the cabin. Were they in trouble? Was this a security threat? The captain's voice trembled slightly as it came over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some unexpected company. Please remain calm and stay in your seats. But the woman in 13F didn't react. Her eyes stayed on the jets, her expression unreadable, emotionless, knowing. Then she heard a radio transmission meant only for the cockpit, but perfectly audible to someone with her training. It was a high-frequency burst, almost lost in the engine noise, but to her ears it was crystal clear. Tower, this is Raptor Lead. Confirm passenger manifest, is Falcon 1 on board? Her jaw tightened. Years since she'd heard that calcine, it was a ghost from a past life, a name she had buried long ago. Raptor Lead spoke again, the pilot's voice sharp and urgent. Confirm Falcon 1 in seat 13F. A heavy pause hung in the air. Then the captain of the airliner answered, his voice barely a whisper. Affirmative. She's here. Instantly, both F-22s moved closer, flanking the commercial jet like twin guardians. And then they did something that made every passenger's jaw drop. They saluted. Not the plane. Her, tilting their wings in a synchronized perfect gesture of respect. Passengers stared, whispering, pointing at the woman in the grey hoodie. She didn't move. She didn't speak. But the faintest smile touched her lips. The man sitting beside her, who had been staring out the window in disbelief, finally turned to her. His voice was a hushed, awestruck whisper. Who are you? She glanced at him, her eyes calm and steady behind her shades. Not yet, she replied softly, her voice carrying a quiet authority that ended the conversation before it could begin. Earlier at the airport, she'd slipped through security completely unnoticed. No checked bags, no flashy gear, just a boarding pass under the name E. Carter. Totally ordinary, totally invisible. She hadn't flown commercial in years, preferring the solitude and control of a cockpit over the crowded chaos of a passenger cabin. But today wasn't for her. It was for a promise, a silent vow she'd made to a fallen friend, a fellow pilot she had once saved in a desert sky full of tracers and fire. She was traveling, not as a soldier, but as a mourner, on her way to honor a memory that the world had never known. The anonymity of being just another passenger was a comfort, a shield she used to navigate a world that no longer recognized her. But as the F-22s held their escort, she knew that shield was beginning to crack. Back then, she was known as Falcon 1, one of the deadliest, bravest, and most skilled pilots in modern aviation. Her name was a whisper in the halls of the Pentagon, a legend told in hushed tones in pilot bars around the world. The mission that made her a legend was never officially recorded. It was buried under layers of classification, a story too sensitive for public consumption. The risk was too high, the anti-air defenses too dense. It was a suicide mission. But for Falcon 1, leaving a wingman behind was never an option. She went anyway. Alone. Flying directly into a sky lit with tracers and exploding shells. She held her formation steady with a shredded aircraft, her own jet taking hits as she guided the damaged plane. With a skill that defied belief, she coordinated the pickup of both survivors. Speeds, when the jets finally peeled away, dipping their wings in one last, powerful salute before vanishing into the clouds. She exhaled quietly, a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Inside her bag, she pulled out a worn, folded photograph. It showed 4 pilots on a sun-baked runway, arms slung around each other, grinning like they were invincible against the world. Her callsign, Falcon 1, was stenciled on the flight suit above her name. Show touched the face of the friend she was going to honor, her finger tracing the outline of his smile. A memory, a promise. When Flight 207 landed, a strange and solemn welcome awaited. Airport staff lined the jet bridge in silence. Some saluted crisply. Others simply placed their hands over their hearts as she walked past. A young Air Force officer, his uniform immaculate, stepped forward and stopped her. "Ma'am," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "My father flew with you. You saved his life." She met his gaze, and for the first time, her own eyes showed a flicker of the past. She returned his salute with a sharp, practiced motion, then walked away, disappearing into the anonymous bustle of the terminal crowd. That night, at a quiet memorial in a small town, she stood under the fading sunset as hundreds of candles flickered across a field. No one there called her E. Carter. They called her what she truly was, Falcon 1. And for a moment, standing among the family and friends of the pilot she'd come to honor, she allowed herself to feel the weight of that name not as a burden, but as a quiet, eternal pride earned in skies that only a few would ever see. Touch your heart, then don't just leave. Join our family. Like the video, share it, and hit that subscribe button. Every week, we bring you stories of courage, sacrifice, and the legends the world forgets. Subscribe now and help us keep their stories alive.